Well, apparently Yuzu's legacy was much bigger than I thought it was. Yuzu was the most popular Nintendo Switch emulator for the longest time, before it was nuked by Nintendo earlier this year in a DMCA takedown. Yeah, essentially a few months ago, Nintendo, they were gonna take Yuzu to court. The parent company of Yuzu is called Tropic Haze. They are, of course, very extremely small compared to the giant that is Nintendo. So Nintendo was gonna take them to court over the whole Nintendo Switch Yuzu emulator. And of course, whether you believe it's right or wrong, knowing that Nintendo would probably metaphorically squash them like a bug in the legal system, because unfortunately that's just how it is. Bigger, stronger companies tend to have better lawyers. So knowing that, Tropic Haze decided to settle. Yeah, as quickly as it started, it ended like not even a week later, with Tropic Haze agreeing to pay Nintendo $2.4 million and effectively taking down Yuzu from the internet, one of the most, well actually I should say the most popular Nintendo Switch emulator of all time. Yeah, if you're familiar with the emulator and ROM scene of really any console, you'll know that some emulators just do it right, some emulators do it much better than the others. So sometimes for some consoles you'll have kind of a slew of different emulators you can choose from, but sometimes you kind of just have the one end-all be-all emulator that just does everything perfect, and I guess Yuzu was that emulator for the Nintendo Switch. So taking it down was a massive blow to the emulation community. Since then, there's just been a ton of talk about it. Now, when this happened a couple months ago, there were whispers that people were essentially going to create copycats of Yuzu. They were going to take the source code of it and they were going to basically put it back online and see how long those could last, and, you know, the cycle would basically repeat itself. And people said, hey, this could just happen, you know, an infinite amount of times. You know, people could just keep making accounts on these file sharing websites like GitHub and just keep reposting this Yuzu clone. And I thought, yeah, sure, that makes sense. So, you know, there will probably be like, you know, 4, maybe 5 copies of it on the internet. But that was completely underselling what was actually going to end up happening. Yeah, you know the Greek mythology character Hydra, where if you cut off its head, 2 more will come out? Yeah, well, in this case, you took down Yuzu, and apparently over 8,000 copies of the emulator have since come out onto GitHub. And now it actually depends on which source you read. So one source I'm seeing is saying over 8,500 copies of Yuzu were found on GitHub, but some are saying it's actually 8,500 repositories hosting the Yuzu emulator were found. Now, in my limited knowledge of GitHub, I believe a repository is essentially like a Discord chat room or group type of thing. I think repositories can have multiple clones, multiple files in them. So if that is true, that would tell me there's like, you know, well over 8,000, well over probably 10 or 20,000 of these Yuzu clones that were found on GitHub. So yeah, a ton of them, but today, unfortunately, it was very sad, very big news that Nintendo, well, they did what Nintendo basically always does now, and they actually sent a DMCA request to GitHub to take down all of these Yuzu clones, and GitHub complied. They did take down all of these clones. Yeah, I still can't believe it was over 8,000 different Yuzu emulators that were found, but you know, I have to say, one good thing out of this story, or at least to me and to most gamers, I would say is a good thing, you know, if you're pro emulation, is that I really think that this goes to show that this is a losing battle for Nintendo. I mean, I don't think these are probably, if I had to guess, well-established accounts on GitHub. These are probably just like anonymous accounts that don't really care probably that, you know, they get banned. They're probably just uploading these Yuzu copycats all in the name of emulation, so to speak. Probably just people that are passionate about the project itself. So if I had to guess, I would say that they probably don't care very much that these copycats did get taken down, because at the end of the day, they can always just upload more. Now, of course, I am not encouraging this at all, right? Nintendo, do not come after me. I am just saying that I feel like this is, at the end of the day, a losing battle for Nintendo. And I get it, okay, I do understand why Nintendo is fighting this battle. At the end of the day, Nintendo Switch is still their current console. While I do very much agree with emulation, and I love emulation, it's definitely easy to see how Nintendo could lose money, you know, from projects like these. But I definitely understand why projects like these exist. The Nintendo Switch is overall not a very good platform in terms of hardware. Computers just do it way better. Gaming PCs are going to run these games way better. So I don't know, as we get to the end of the Nintendo Switch lifespan, I think just more people are going to keep uploading these Yuzu copycats, and eventually, as Nintendo goes on to whatever their next console is going to be, I don't know, I think Nintendo will eventually stop fighting this battle.